April 9th, 2025. Today will go down in history. You guys don't realize you just witnessed history. When I tell you you witnessed history, here's why. Just stay to the end. You're going to have a lot to talk about at the water cooler. Okay, think about this. Today was one post, one president, and $4 trillion. And a whole lot of investors suddenly forgot all of a sudden that they hated Donald Trump. But behind this rally, it's a bunch of mess, politics, we got trade wars, possible insider trading, and and so much corruption. Let's unpack this historic day with historic gains. I mean, suspicious historic gains. Because when a market goes up 10% in one day, someone definitely knew something. Now, let's put that into perspective. If you had calls are when you bet, when you bet on a stock going up, it's used to hedge and everything, but other people use them to bet, right? Let's say you had calls today, Tesla 270 calls, and you listened earlier when the president said buy, you would have been up times 17. That means if you had 1,000, you'd have had 17,000. If you'd have had 10,000, you'd have had 170. 17 times. That means if you had the down payment for a house and say, you know what, I'm going to put half of it on there, you would have enough to pay off that house. That's crazy. Okay. Now let's get into what happened. At exactly 1:18 p.m., Trump posted on his Truth Social. He wrote, I have authorized a 90-day pause and a substantially lowered reciprocal tariff during this period of 10%, effective immediately. Now, what does that translate to? Markets, you can chill now and you can rally now. And guess what happened? He may have known this was going to happen. I'm not going to say he knew it was going to happen, but we trade on news, so he probably knew it was going to happen. Wall Street lost their mind. You hear me? The S&P exploded 10%. It had its best day since the financial crisis of 2008. The Nasdaq jumped 12.1%. It's the second biggest one-day rally in its history. The second in history. That's crazy. And you guys witnessed. Only one time did it do better, right after 9/11, when people realized the economy was not collapsing. That was a crazy time during 9/11. And the Dow, it was up nearly 3,000 points, 8% in a single session. And that's not a rally. That's like a moon landing or something. That's crazy. That's a once in a lifetime thing. Now, we're going to go into why it was suspicious. We're going to go into Trump's early buy tape. Here's the part that has alarm bells blaring. At 9:37, remember he announced it officially like 1 something. But at 9:37, Trump posted, this is a great time to buy DJT, right? And at that time, stocks were flat. Investors were given a nearly 4-hour heads up. If you listened, you made bank. If you hesitated, you had to watch others make bank, and you thought to yourself, man, I should have just took it. Now we looking at all this, and remember I told you if you had calls, you'd have made 17 times. Let's say even if you had 100 grand and you put it on it, this morning, and you'd have made 17 times, that'd have been 1.7 million. That's a lot of money. But let's talk about Donald Trump. How much did he make from his own advice? Drum roll, $415 million. That's how much his 53% stake in Trump Media jumped in value in one day. You know what? And that's not from Tariffs or anything. That's from his own social media post. Imagine if you could talk and make your own self almost $500 million. It shot up 22, almost 23%. And he signed it with DJT, which is both his initials and the stock symbol for his company. Is that subtle? Not at all, but it's profitable, absolutely profitable. He gave the market a wink and the market bought it. Now, a lot of people question, they say, is this ethical? Is it insider trading? And ethics experts are throwing red flags and they're just saying, man, this is wrong. One guy, Richard Painter, he's a former lawyer for Bush or something like that. He straight up said Trump violated security laws. He said flat out he did. And they're saying why? Because if he knew he was going to pause a tariff and hinted at it before the public announcement, that's insider trading. And giving it to millions of his followers before the official world, that's potentially market manipulation. But here's the twist. He's the president. So he'll probably get away with it, you know? Will they investigate it? Maybe after the presidency, but don't count on it anytime soon. You know. Now, Trump made money. If you caught it, you made money. But these tech companies also made money. Nvidia, almost 20%. Tesla, 22%. Apple, 15%. Meta, formerly known as Facebook, 15%. Amazon, 12%. Even Chinese stocks like JD.com and Alibaba gained despite the tariffs. Despite the tariffs, they made a ton of money because investors were just relieved that the U.S. wasn't going to collapse. Now that we just mentioned China, let's talk about it. Let's not pretend everything's fine. He didn't pause all the tariffs. In fact, tariffs on Chinese imports went up 125%, and that's brutal. That means a lot of stuff we use every day is going to stay expensive. Think about iPhones, all your Mac stuff, laptops, smartwatches, everything, and anything else with the chip. Samsung too, all that other junk. It's going up. Clothing, especially the fast fashion that we all love, like Shein and Temu and all that other stuff, it's going up. All your furniture, your lighting, your home appliances, yeah, they're still going up. Basically, if it says made in China, it's going to be making you poor, so expect to pay more. The trade war is still on. It just has fewer players in it because he gave everybody else 10%. And that's only because they retaliated, but I would have retaliated too, China's not a punk, And let's talk about market volatility and a recession panic. This move didn't come from nowhere. The market was in chaos before this. For 3 straight days, the S&P had wild 6% swing, like it was 2008. Bond yield shot up. 10-year treasury went up over 50 basis points in 3 days, the biggest spike since 2001. Economists were flipping. Recession. Get this. Goldman Sachs called the recession at 10 a.m. and had to walk it back by 1 p.m. That's how crazy the day was. I'm telling you guys, this was historical. And one post changed all this. It changed the entire narrative. So what does it mean for us? Regular people. Yeah, it was a record-breaking day if you was in the stock market. If you did some puts or something, yeah, you made bank. Go get your Porsches. Go set up the vacations at the shore. You killed it today. But for regular people, groceries are still expensive. Rent hasn't come down. Gas is creeping up, and your iPhone is $1,200 now. And it could possibly be $2,500. So if you need one, you better put a case on that iPhone. If not, it's going to cost you $2,500. And that's crazy. But Wall Street, they got a sugar rush. The rest of us, we're just us, And our president, almost $500 million in a day. He's $415 million richer. And all while he did this, he was skating close to legal red lines. His defenders say he was doing his job, calming the market. Critics say he was doing otherwise. And what's the irony of this? He was probably doing both, Now, before we go, let's just remember all of this. April 9th, 2025 is historic. This is going to go down in history book. So take note of this. But it also was a masterclass in political market power. One post moved trillions. One man changed the economic mood of the country and made himself and his friends a whole lot richer. This is the new normal. Presidents with portfolios, tweets with trillions, No more corny jokes. Presidents with portfolio tweets with trillions. And the public still trying to figure out if the economy is healing or hustling. As for what happens next, if history tells us anything, the pause is temporary, unfortunately. The trade with China could heat up again, and the rally could fade just as fast. And investors might realize they were dancing on a landmine. But for one day, one glorious day, it felt like 1999, just with more tariffs and a lot more tweets. Buckle up. We're just getting started. It's going to be a very exciting 4 years. All right, family and friends. See you later.